Welcome back to part 5 of the IMFS instructional video. This part will explain how the data section works. The three sets of data that the system needs is historical sales data over the last 52 weeks, the current stock on hand for each SKU, and any stock arrivals expected for any SKU between now and when we could expect it to be delivered if ordered this week, depending on the lead time for that SKU. If we activate the import screen for sales data, it can be seen that there needs to be 4 headings, including the customer to whom each SKU was sold. So essentially, the list being imported will be a weekly sales report by SKU by customer. The system will automatically aggregate sales volumes by SKU to use in the creation of an overall sales forecast for the next 52 weeks. Similar to the S&OP section, it is possible to create a template that will assist you in creating the sales lists you will require. Following exactly the same procedure as in setup, template files can be created, modified and saved here for historical sales data. When a template file has been created, it can be saved as its week ending date and placed in the data folder, ready to be imported. When we click the Import File button, we are presented with another dialog box which automatically calculates the week for which it requires data based on the data that has already been imported, if any, and the requirement for 52 weeks of previous historical data. It will also indicate any weeks that may have been missed or not imported previously. It is extremely important to ensure that the week ending date of the file being imported corresponds with the date being displayed on this dialog box. The system will record the imported sales data as being for this date, so if this is not checked carefully, the wrong date could be accidentally attributed to the data being imported. Once a week's data has been successfully imported, a successful completion message will be displayed. Continue to do this with data for all 52 previous weeks. Once all 52 weeks of data have been imported, we can move on to the next functions of the system. The View Edit button can now be used to view and or change any data that has been imported. From this screen, historical sales data for any SKU can be edited or deleted, and even substituted in the case of a new product replacing an old one, for example. To do this, if there is a product being replaced by a new SKU, then clicking the red Activate button will enable you to select the new SKU, and specify which other SKU's history is to be copied to it. Going back to the main menu, it is also possible to delete historical sales data that may have been entered incorrectly by clicking the blue arrow for Delete, and then selecting the week ending date from the drop-down list. In order to create a workable forecast, historical sales data for the previous 52 weeks are required, and can be imported as just shown. The next set of data that the system requires is current stock on hand. The import and view edit functions for stock on hand is identical to the process just explained, and should by this stage be fairly self-explanatory, so I will not go into too much detail explaining it again. The one new thing that I need to explain is the stock in transit section. This section is where details of any stock expected to arrive within the lead time window is recorded. The lead time window refers to the length of time between now and the date at which we would expect delivery if an order was placed for a particular item this week. So, for example, if an item has a lead time of 6 weeks, Then we need to enter any deliveries that we expect for that item in the next 6 weeks, as this will not be calculated by the system, and needs to be entered manually. The system will look at what the stock situation is likely to be around the delivery date dictated by the lead time band based on the calculated forecast, and calculates how much stock needs to be ordered this week, taking into account any stock on hand, and any expected arrivals during the lead time window. In the beginning, the lead time window will be blank, but as time progresses, calculated and modified orders will appear automatically in the lead time window. When that occurs, these deliveries will need to be verified and modified if required. Select a vendor code from the yellow drop-down list at the top of the screen. All of the product codes that the selected vendor supplies will be automatically displayed in the grid below. In addition to this, any period that falls beyond a vendor's lead time from this week will be grayed out, and only entries made in the white sections will be taken into consideration. These white areas represent the lead time window. In order to create the most reliable stock outlook, it is crucial that any deliveries of any SKU expected within their lead time windows be entered here. The stock in transit section can also be completed after the forecast is generated, as this will show any calculated orders due for delivery within the next 20 weeks, but outside the lead time window, that is, the gray areas. This concludes part 5 of this video, and part 6 will move on to the reports section.